Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another new edition of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And today we will be talking about Tunisia's presidential elections. And on this issue, we're glad to be joined over the phone by Dr. Raouf Gafar, political analyst. Good afternoon, Dr. Raouf.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Sir, polling booths have closed in Tunisia, which is holding its second free presidential polls since 2011 uprising that toppled ex-president Ben Ali and sparked the Arab Spring. Would you tell us more about Tunisia's presidential elections?
I couldn't hear your question well, please. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. We're talking about Tunisia's presidential elections.
Yes.
Would you tell us more about the elections?
Well, of course, this was an expected election. A lot of candidates were running. They started, Tunisians outside Tunis started voting the day before yesterday, finishing today. And I think in Tunisia, the voting starts today. But most surprising, so far, the results of the polls are really completely sort of unexpected. So two of the I could say outsiders. we were all expecting maybe the last prime minister at the time of Zine al-Abidine, maybe the interior minister, maybe the Muslim Brotherhood. These were the candidates that were expected to get some high votes in the first round. But most unexpectedly, two outsiders. One of them is leading now. He's a professor of international law and a very low-profile man, very academic. And he just ran without any specific program, without belonging to any party, completely on his own, and he is leading. And the second one is an activist that is actually in prison now. So
right.
This is very unexpected and against all expectations, of course. So let's wait and see how things will end up. But apparently, looks like these two will be taking part of the second round next month.
Right. Well, sir, if we look at the Tunisian scene, what are the major alliances and powers that prevailed in the presidential elections?
Well, we know that, I mean, the liberal people were always on the lead, followed by the Muslim Brotherhood sympathizing, I should say, party. And they were running in a sort of harmony over the last years. But again, this time, of course, between brackets, having 20 plus, I think 23 or 24 candidates running for the election, this is maybe two just dropped out 2 days ago, but over 20. This, of course, helps, not helps, but at least it breaks the votes between a lot of people, which gives, as exactly what happened, gives the chance of people that are not supported by any parties or any what have you, to get the highest votes and get the opportunity to repeat and maybe run the country in the future. So once again, there was a lot of different parties and different groupings running for presidency, and this is the outcome. I mean, this is probably, in my opinion, again, the young generation played a major role in the results that are so far happening. So I think that let's wait and see. I mean, I'm very sort of curious to know and what will happen, and I'm happy that the Tunisian voters have gone into a completely unexpected direction.
Right. Well, sir, from your point of view, why is this presidential elections in specific significant?
I mean, it is significant because even after the 2011 change in Tunis, we have seen a lot of old personalities and old figures. So, in my humble opinion, the change was not complete. But this time, I think that we will be experiencing a completely new direction, a completely new Tunisia, as far as politics is concerned, as far as economy is concerned. I mean, this is the most important, in my opinion, event that is happening. That we are seeing a complete change in the political direction, and again, I repeat, I think the youth are playing the major role in this change.
Right. Well, sir, Egypt and Tunisia have long enjoyed distinguished relations. How have these relations developed over the past decade?
Please repeat it. The voice is not very clear.
Right.
You said.
Egypt and Tunisia have long enjoyed long and distinguished relations. How have these relations developed through the past decade?
You're talking with Egypt?
Yes, relations between Egypt and Tunisia.
We have long-standing relations with Tunisia. Actually, it was always strong. Even over the last years, they have always been backing our steps fighting terrorism. They had their share, and we have expressed solidarity, of course, with them. I mean, relations are old. Our relations are very strong, and I think that it will continue, regardless of the directions. I think that whoever wins will continue consulting with Egypt, will continue strengthening the relation with Egypt. I mean, we never forget that Egypt is the largest and biggest Arab country and has always been leading the Arabs over the last at least 50 or 60 years. So I don't foresee any change. On the contrary, I feel that the relations on all levels will strengthen.
Right. Dr. Raouf, what kind of support can Egypt provide to the Tunisian leadership during this transitional period in specific, and especially as Egypt is presiding over the African Union?
Well, I mean, Egypt, regardless of presiding the African Union, is always a leading state. And everybody listens to Egypt. Everybody sees what Egypt does, and if they can do the same, they will. So, I mean, Egypt will finish the presidency within 2 or 3 months, but I'm sure that the role model will continue. And if the new regime the new elected president in Tunisia will maybe go through some economic reforms or what have you, I think they will follow the example of Egypt. So I do think that regardless of who is coming to power in Tunisia, the relation will continue being very strong.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, sir, finally, what are your expectations for the results of this presidential elections?
In my opinion, as it looks from the polls now, that the gentleman Qais, the doctor, the professor of international law, he is leading, and I think that he will assume power at the end of the day. So the other have maybe taken the second position so far, maybe due to sympathy of some Tunisians, but when it comes to repeating the election next month, I think that Mr. Case, the professor of international law has the highest odds to win, inshallah.
Right. Sir, just before wrapping up, how do you assess the current economic status in Tunisia?
Well, Tunisia is a I don't want to say a small country, but it is. The economy is based on mainly on tourism and some bilateral relation with France particularly, but tourism is one of the most important assets. And I think that the new administration, will work on making Tunisia more stable and more secure, because tourism, as we know, is very much coupled with stability and security. And this is what they will do, and I am sure that security will prevail and Tunisia will flourish under the new president.
Right. Well, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, our political analyst, many thanks for your insights, sir. And dear viewers, now we move on to our special reports. A senior UN official says that countries are only slowly making headway in meeting promises to relocate stranded refugees and asylum seekers in Libya and Niger. Details.
A senior United Nations official says that countries are only slowly making headway in meeting promises to relocate stranded refugees and asylum seekers in Libya and Niger. According to United Nations figures, nearly 48,000 people are in Libya, some of whom are being held in detention camps, while thousands of others have been evacuated to neighboring Niger, where they are waiting to transit camps. So far, 6,606 of them have received a promise of permanent relocation in a third country. Pledges have been made by Belgium, Britain, Canada, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland and United States. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Special Envoy for the Central Mediterranean, Vincent Cochetel, said only close to half of these pledges have been met. Cochetel was speaking this week on the sidelines of a meeting in the Malian capital, Bamako, which gathered international experts and African ministers on forced displacement in the Sahel. Cochetel acknowledged also the United Nations also faced the time-consuming task of verifying that applicants were suitable for relocation. Cochetel also paid tribute to two African countries, Rwanda and Niger, which have offered to be a transit site for refugees from Libya. Rwanda agreed to take in an initial batch of 500, a figure that could potentially rise to thousands. The first group will mainly comprise people originating from the Horn of Africa.
Welcome back, and moving on to Zimbabwe, the family of former Zimbabwe leader Robert Mugabe have agreed to bury him at a monument for national heroes in Harare. We have the details in this report.
Former Zimbabwe leader Robert Mugabe's family and the government said he would be buried in about a month after they agreed to entomb him at a monument for national heroes in Harare. Mugabe died in Singapore last week, aged 95, leaving Zimbabweans deeply divided over the legacy of a leader once lauded as an anti-colonial guerrilla hero, but whose 37-year iron-fisted rule ended in a coup in 2017. His family and President Emmerson Mnangagwa, a former Mugabe ally who turned against him, had been at odds over where and when he would be buried after his body returned home on Wednesday from Singapore. On Friday, they agreed he would be buried at the National Heroes Acre, but the final ceremony will only take place in 30 days after a new mausoleum is built for Mugabe. Mnangagwa confirmed the burial would only take place once a new mausoleum had been built there for the former leader. Around a dozen African leaders and former president, including Ramaphosa, South African president, are also those expected to attend Mugabe's official state funeral on Saturday in Harare in a sports stadium. Tensions have erupted when Mnangagwa's government proposed a burial at the monument, while the family said he would be buried at a private ceremony, possibly in his homestead of Kutama, in the Zuvambi region northwest of capital. Leo Mugabe said Mugabe's body would go to his hometown while the new tomb was built.
Welcome back, and moving on to Tanzania. A spokesman for the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that a woman whose death in Tanzania is being investigated by the World Health Organization probably did not have Ebola. We have the story.
A spokesman for the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said a woman whose death in Tanzania is being investigated by the World Health Organization probably did not have Ebola. There is increased vigilance across the region because of an outbreak of Ebola in Democratic Republic of Congo, and the WHO said it was looking into the death of a patient in Tanzania. The woman who died in Dar es Salaam on September 8th presented symptoms common to several diseases, including dengue and malaria, both endemic in East Africa. Such symptoms also present in Ebola, but there was no indication the woman had traveled to an affected area or had contact with an infected person. He added that the Tanzanian government or the WHO may release test results either late Friday or on Saturday. Ebola testing usually takes 1 or 2 days. The WHO Regional Office for Africa said in a statement it was aware of a rumor of a death from an unknown illness, adding that the agency is working with national health authorities and is deploying a technical team to Tanzania to investigate this rumor as a matter of urgency.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and with this final report, we wrap up this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.